I'm Emily.
And I'm Ethan.
We're traveling across America in search of its most captivating communities.
All the while, we're working from the road and taking the adventures as they come.
This is
Remote!
When you hear the word Appalachia, what images pop into your mind? Do you think of the lengthy mountain through trail, banjos and moonshine, perhaps coal miners, or the famous Simpsons character Cletus? Well, the more time I spend out here, the more I realize that our preconceptions of the region don't even begin to skim the surface of what's really here. I knew Appalachia had a rich and interesting culture, but what has surprised me is the variety of subcultures that have sprouted up in every hidden holler, and there's no better example of that than New Vrindaban, West Virginia. To arrive at New Vrindaban, Ethan and I drove for hours along winding one-lane roads with hairpin turns, up and down hills so steep I wasn't sure my car could handle them. There was no phone service or shoulder to pull off. It would have been a rough place to get in an accident.
We found a really cool hidden gem in the hills of West Virginia, of all places, and it was this giant Hare Krishna compound with like a temple and a golden palace that was built for their founder. And it was so interesting because it was pretty much deserted. We were coming in kind of the off season, and so we had the whole place to ourselves, and we kind of just snuck into the palace not knowing if it was open and rung the bell on the desk, and then this little old man came out from the inner sanctum and was like, "Would you like a tour?" And we got a private tour of this beautiful ornate palace that was made of like gold leaf and inlaid marble and art that rivaled anything you would find in like the Sistine Chapel.
It was really impressive, like just murals on these domed ceilings and these just like beautiful swirly shaped windows and doors and hand carved wood and stained glass. They had stained glass peacocks. It was so exotic and beautiful and colorful.
What on earth is a place like this doing tucked away in rural West Virginia? We can thank the Hare Krishna community and followers of Srila Prabhupada. In the 1960s, an aging Prabhupada found himself called to spread the message of Krishna consciousness to the English-speaking world. He was so impassioned by the mission that he left behind his life and his wife and kids in India. At the age of 69, he boarded a steamship for New York, vulnerable and without connections. Despite suffering 2 heart attacks during the voyage, he made it to New York alive and soon found himself a sparse apartment on the Lower East Side. Against all odds, Prabhupada began to attract followers. We can at least partially attribute his success to the free-spirited and soul-searching vibe of the late 1960s. Within a couple years, he had launched one of the fastest-growing spiritual movements in the history of the world, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, more commonly known as Hare Krishna. Some of the New York devotees came across an ad for cheap land in West Virginia and recognized it as a good opportunity to begin a peaceful and self-sufficient farming community. When I say cheap, I mean they purchased the land for $1 an acre. Pretty good deal. The lush countryside of West Virginia reminded Prabhupada of the Holy Land in India called Vrindaban, where Krishna is said to have spent his childhood. Thus, he named it New Vrindaban. It was envisioned to be a sacred village for cow protection, simple living, holy pilgrimage, spiritual education, and above all, loving Krishna. It is now a pilgrimage site that is open to all.
New Vrindaban.
No, you have to pronounce it right. Vrindaban.
Vrindaban!
It's so interesting to have on the one side double wide trailers, like what you would picture West Virginia culture to be. And then on the other side, this like Indian village with a golden palace. Just such a mashup of cultures.
And we had planned to eat lunch at the little Indian restaurant there, which was supposed to be like amazing, all home-cooked food from the monks that lived there. And when we finished our tour, our tour guide, Banabata, informed us that because it was the off season, the restaurants only open on weekends, and so we were kind of dismayed. But then he offered to sneak us down into the food hall and get us some leftovers, and so we took him up on that, and he gave us this whole private tour of like their residential area, and we had an awesome lunch with him with the most delicious Indian food I think we may have ever eaten.
It was amazing.
The community holds all kinds of retreats and festivals throughout the year. They have a beautiful and colorful swan boat that they release out onto the lake to make its rounds. I can't wait to come back for one of these events.
It was cool to go into the temple with someone that knew what all of the murals were representing and the backstories of it. Like Krishna had some very interesting things happen in his life. Like giant serpent demons attacking him, and he turned into a lion at one point. It was very colorful stories that it was really cool that Banabata was able to just tell us all this stuff, and we got like all this personal attention, which you wouldn't get if you went during the busy season. It was only because we were the only people there, and they were like kind of bored, and we seemed interested, so they took the time to tell us about it.
Yeah, everybody was super nice, and the temple and the palace were beautiful, and we made some new friends and left with some beads and some other little trinkets and souvenirs.
They gave me a beautiful lei of like fresh roses, and it smelled incredible. I couldn't stop smelling it.
Extremely generous, and we were very excited to visit that community and look forward to coming back again sometime soon.